For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson. Over the weekend, the Colorado Buffaloes faced off against the Colorado State Rams in a nail-biting matchup that ended with the Buffaloes taking the victory 43-35. As a result, the University of Colorado is now a perfect 3-0 to start their season, which is an improvement from where the team was this time last year. Last week, we reported on a list of celebrities that attended the game, and this one was no different, as the list appears to be growing as the weeks go on. Similar to the Showtime Lakers of the 1980s, this time we had Lil Wayne, Offset, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Master P, and several others would make the game a star-studded affair. In an interview with 60 Minutes this past Sunday, Sanders defended his choice to leave Jackson State for the University of Colorado Boulder. Sanders told his student athletes at Jackson State he was leaving for opportunity and has gone on public record stating he intends to give the same opportunity to students in Colorado.
You left Jackson State and you left quick. What did you tell those kids? What did you tell those?
I didn't leave quick. I left when I was supposed to leave. We finished. Most coaches get a new job and they leave expeditiously. I finished the task.
You say finish the task. Was there more work you could have done in Jackson?
I think we did a tremendous job in Jackson. I think we laid down a tremendous blueprint.
This new opportunity came with a higher calling for Sanders, and he knows he has his hands full with this new venture, especially considering the team only won one game last season.
God wouldn't relocate me to something that was successful. That don't make sense, do it? He had to find the most disappointing and the most difficult task. And this is what it was, and this is what it is. And I love that.
Now, this echoes the same sentiment Deion had when he took over Jackson State 3 years ago. His goal then was to elevate the football program at Jackson State, but also all HBCUs. When it came to the criticism Sanders has received since before the season started, he had this to say about his doubters.
That's fear.
Fear.
Yeah, that's fear. That's like, hey, man, shoot, we don't want to let that engine that could get going, because if that engine that could get going, he going to start saying, I think I can, I think I can. Sooner or later, he going to start saying, I know I can, I know I can. Then sooner or later, he going to start saying, I did that.
Now, before the Buffaloes' big matchup, their opposing coach, Jay Norvell from Colorado State, would say, when I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and glasses off. And of course, this was in reference to Sanders constantly wearing a hat and sunglasses when he's interviewed. Well, Sanders caught wind of Norvell's comment and he simply responded, once again, why would you talk about us when we don't talk about nobody? When they give us ammunition, they messed around and made it personal. Following this, Sanders would gift the entire team new sunglasses to wear before the game. When it was time to clarify the comments he made midweek, Norvell said, I was talking to my own team and really reinforcing what we do. That's what those comments were made for. This rivalry has been going on way long before I got here and is going to be going on way after I leave. There's always bad blood. That's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what me or Deion say, it's going to be bad blood. You've got to get your team to play. That's the key. And so yeah, those comments were for my kids. During the post-game press conference, Sanders went into detail when it comes to his thoughts on Coach Jay Norvell.
You know, I could be petty if they petty, but I ain't got time for that, man. I'm on to bigger things. I'm happy for the brother. I really am, man. I'm happy that they fought, that they played a good game. I'm happy he's a head coach. I'm happy for any brother that's doing it and successful, man. I truly am. I don't know where all this stuff comes from. I have to respond because, you know, it's my mama taught me that. You just ain't gonna type me and I'm gonna sit back and ain't gonna say nothing. I'm happy for that dude, man. I don't know him, but I'm happy for him. I wish the best for him, I really do. My success ain't got nothing to do with his. So why would I want him to succeed? I don't know how people get down like that. My blessings ain't got nothing to do with his blessings.
The success of the Buffaloes has caught the attention of fans all around the world. Most seem to be happy for Deion and his team, but others, including Charleston White, not so much. On Sunday, White took to social media to go off on Deion Sanders, and here's what he had to say.
Man, Deion Sanders. Yeah, I damn near want to put $20,000 up on any college player that'll hurt his son, that motherfucking quarterback motherfucker. That slow motherfucker ain't going nowhere. College, here Colorado football, nigga, I'm with them niggas still in Jackson, Mississippi. Y'all go, nigga. Deion. Yeah, Sambo Sanders is his new name. And he a football player. Deion ain't never done shit where we can rally and revolutionize around him. Man, nigga, a football player with a turf toe. And another thing. Jackson State University winning too, nigga. Y'all ain't rooting for them nigga coaches. And then, nigga, all them little league nigga coaches that's coaching them little league teams in your city. You ain't rooting and rallying and cheering behind them po niggas. Matter of fact, fuck them white folk football team. Yeah, fuck Colorado University. Fuck they white dean of school. Fuck all them white people over there that Deion Sanders coaching for. They ain't gonna let no bunch of niggas come go to school over there. They just letting them niggas Deion pick. And fuck the whole team.
Joining me today to further this conversation, I guess continue the conversation, we have our very own John Abba. I'm going to call you the Deion Sanders analyst.
Definitely the Deion Sanders analyst. What's up, y'all? I'm back.
No, I had to have you back on, and
For
thank you
sure.
so much for joining me.
Yeah.
A lot of layers here to talk about. We've been talking about this throughout the season pretty much, and I hope that we continue to. But let's talk about today. We would see Deion Sanders, of course, win this game. Game was amazing, but we would see him double down on the reason for leaving Jackson State. I would love to get your thoughts. What was your reaction to seeing Deion double down on that?
I mean, he definitely seemed to be offended. If you watch the actual clip, the white reporter kind of snuck it in there. Like, you left Jackson State pretty quickly. He said it, and he was like, no, hold up. So to see him double down on that, I think that's just a big conversation that's going to always kind of follow Deion throughout the course of his career at Colorado about, leaving Jackson State for this new opportunity is what he's calling it. So yeah, I think it's going to be something that's continuous. So I don't see too much of a big deal about talking about it too much more. I think this is a conversation that's a great conversation, mainly because it has a theme of what does the journey for Black Americans look like? What should it be? Which is, again, do we do for self and keep in-house and run the risk of not scaling up to mass levels in terms of capitalism? The unfortunate side of it, if Deion loses, we know what can come, right? Let me just stay there.
Yeah.
We know what can come. We know who gonna turn their back, and we definitely should keep this. We know who gonna turn their back.
And who?
Not talking about Black folks, but we talking about who has showed us over the years how they'll quickly turn and give you that nigga wake up call and remind your ass that you weren't really with us. We weren't really with you. So it reminds me of, damn, is Deion's path the right way? Because even when you play that game, even when you walk with them, they could quickly be like, I got you. And then they could take away everything you built. Think about how white media has done some of our great, successful Black men where, and this is a controversial person, but I will bring up Bill Cosby. If you look at his game, he was kind of doing a Deion move. I hate to put Deion Cosby in the same, but I'm saying in terms of his ability to integrate with white America, still give you Black representation.
Correct.
And then on the back end, whatever happened, everyone says NBC was a thing. Then they said, you know what, show's over. We're not gonna run your shows no more. We're gonna shut it down.
Now, speaking of critics and people kind of, bringing things up, we would see, this clip with Charleston White, but also other critics just talking about, Deion Sanders and things like that. Why do you think people are this passionately upset? To the point of preying on someone's downfall? Why do you think they're so...
It's gotta be layers to it, I would imagine, right? I think, again, when we talked about it the last time, we understand that different people have different perspectives about it. So looking at a guy like Charleston White, I think, his brand is gonna be to shake things up. So you can only kind of look at his from a grain of salt, how much of it is entertainment versus his actual feelings. But I think people are upset for valid reasons. I expressed that I did want Deion to stay at Jackson State for the perspective of kind of keeping things in-house. Just to kind of give a quick fact, supposedly Deion made Boulder City, Colorado, $18 million for their opening game at home. And when you see numbers like that, I think that adds to a little bit of somewhat of people's frustration. Could that 18 million have gone to Jackson State in terms of the people around Jackson, Mississippi? The average household income, the median there, I believe, is like somewhere near 36,000. When you compare it to Boulder, Colorado, the median there for household income is 72,000. So you kind of look at those things. I think these are the things that we're instinctively feeling of like, yeah, we see all these celebrities going up there. Everyone's turning up for Colorado, but again, who does it really impact? I think becomes a part of the frustration that people have.
Yeah, I mean, my feelings on it, I think people look at it the way that they, definitely layers, but sometimes perspective is also, some people just look at it for what it is and not really do any research. So since we brought up facts, you know, he also generated an estimated $185 million for Jackson State in advertising. And in value and exposure to that university. When we talk about celebrities, there were also celebrities that went to Jackson State. And this is more so for the critics, right? Because I understand where we are in our alignment of thinking, but people don't go back and actually like look, because most people that are upset right now probably never watched the Jackson State game. Definitely still don't watch the games, probably has not made a trip out to go visit or anything like that. It just seems like there's just a lot of people that are upset, because then I'll bring up my next question. Fourth quarter, when when Colorado was down by 11, you know, tweets started going out immediately. Oh, you know, that's what he's good. That's, you know, it's been all talk and all bark, no bite and things like that. What do you think is going to happen, you know, if Colorado does land, if they do lose, if Deion does lose, what do you think that reaction is going to be like?
I mean, it's going to be, you know, I think one that I personally fear, you know, in terms of people using Deion's appeal against him, because he's talking a lot of ish for some people. And I think that naturally what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to turn on him, because Deion, as you know, in this game, people will build you up just to take you down. And so I just will give that message to you of like, you know, I think you're at a point now where you understand your mission, you understand what you are ultimately after. I also want to be that person to say, hey, you know, like knock on the door of like, don't get caught up in the hype. You know, that's the interesting thing about us, why I called our company Comedy Hype, because it was like the reminder of not to believe the hype. And I think that's going to be important for Deion in this journey, is to not believe it. And then my message to you is, you've already won. You know, if you look at our lives and what we aspire to do when it comes to people, not only do we look to affect our own personal lives, but we also look to affect other people's lives. And I think Deion has been doing that, you know, as a black man in this world. He is representing, I think, things what we wanted to see. So, you know, I can definitely go back and forth and talk about like, yo, he should have stayed at Jackson State. And that's what I feel. But at the end of the day, he chose Colorado. So let's start from that point on moving forward. He's at Colorado, so now what is our energy gonna do? How are we gonna be able to support him? How are we gonna be able to ultimately push this in a positive direction? And I think the positive thing to highlight is, isn't this what we said we wanted when it comes to black men? Deion Sanders is a father of several children. He is someone that I think for one, being an athlete, being a black dude with some swag, got a look about himself. We say it all the time because we complain when they put like a non-black dude ain't black enough to represent us. And you got a black man, he got chains on, he giving us all the swag, all the feels. So what more did we want? I thought this is what we said we wanted. You know, I do understand, again, the game that I think everyone's trying to figure out is, what is the path? You know, and I think you make a good point. There could be multiple paths.
Absolutely.
But it's like, what is the path? When do we keep it black owned and that's successful, even if it may not scale, if we had white partners? Or do we want to, you know, somewhat elevate in an integrated space? Is that success? So I think we just have to figure out what that is for us as individuals. I chose my path as saying I want to elevate with my people. That's my path that I chose. And, you know, let's see how true I can continue to live up to that, because it is really a challenge, you know, to walk this path. And I think, to go back to your first question about the critics, I think that has a large part of why the criticism is there, because ultimately some of them probably want to give up on walking that path of blackness because it's really hard. You know, it's not easy. You know, we said that last time. It is not easy. I think a lot of y'all watching this understand, for the ones that are black-owned businesses and people that have their own organizations, it is not easy. And you be wanting to kind of like give it up, and you be wanting that white savior to come in to go ahead and like take this pressure off of me. But you know, if you're really about being in the mud, and you're gonna thug through it. And that's what I think, that the path I chose, to thug through it, and I'm gonna do the best decisions I can and be able to still continue to try to walk my path. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Again, for me, I mean, I think what we see Deion Sanders doing is Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders has been Deion Sanders since the beginning. I don't think he's going to get into the hype, or that the hype bothers him. I do think that's an important message for our people. Is sometimes we fall into the hype and we're not really paying attention to what's currently happened. But Deion Sanders has been it. He knew that. He knows that. He knows that he's been it. His son is it. Even when they talked about his son making these plays, that's something that he said. He said, my son has been doing it. But y'all obviously weren't watching HBCUs when he was at HBCU. You know, even him like being that open to say that to me shows like you're still connected to us as a people. Because what happened with, if it was somebody else, they go into these spaces and then they code switch. Now it's like, oh, you've forgotten where you've come from.
Yeah.
But Deion Sanders remains to be who he is. And I just want to lay up a couple of facts of what he has done for Jackson State, because I think it's so important. So many times we get caught up in the hype and we just want to talk and I just want to talk trash. And it's like, no, but he's still doing good work. So his current salary, he donated half of his current salary to Jackson State. When he was at the school at Jackson State, the school opened a new football facility, received a locker room upgrade, and several players were able to snag name, image, and likeness, which are NIL deals, as we know that recently came into play. As I mentioned earlier, JSU generated an estimate of $185 million in advertising value and exposure to the university. To me, it's like he did his job. Even when the reporter tried to say, oh, you left quickly, he didn't leave quickly. He was there for 3 years. Yeah. So it's to go there, bring in that type of revenue, bring in that type of exposure to the school. To me, you did a very well done. Like he's done his job, and now he's moving on to the next thing, his next mission. As you mentioned, he knows what his mission is. He knows where he wants to go, and I commend him for that. Anybody that, especially if you're black, putting him down, like, it's crazy. According to ESPN, since the end of the World War II, only 9 sons have started at as quarterback for their head coaching dad in a major college football. We're seeing history, watching that game, seeing him put that chain on his son, seeing him celebrate his son. You know, he even said he didn't know he had it in him to run to his son the way he did. And then even when Colorado State started playing dirty at the end of the game, or even in the beginning of the game, just seeing that for me does so much, especially when we're talking about an organization that's not black owned.
Right.
Football is not, there's no part that's black owned.
Well, I think that's where, like, you know, I know I've been on our program kind of like more so, probably more from a critical eye. Not totally against Deion, not like wanting him to fail or wishing his downfall, but just more so of like analyzing his moves. In the process of this, I've been able to also kind of look at the positive, which again, I think Deion is giving a representation that feels good for our people. I remember walking in this brother that was security guard, he was like, you think Deion gonna win this? And so you understand what's kind of happening across the country, that now Colorado is becoming like kind of our team to champion and rally behind. And I think that's the bittersweetness of it all, is that, damn, it would have been cool if it was like something that was like completely ours. Okay,
so you said the bodyguard said what though?
He was more so saying, oh, you gonna watch the game? Kind of like.
But his words were, do you think
Deion's gonna take, so to me, do you think Deion's gonna win this one?
I think if Deion left Colorado, we would not be stunting Colorado. If Deion was to say, I'm leaving Colorado,
correct, Deion's the sauce.
Right, people are following Deion. So to me, it's like, we have an opportunity, and of course this is through football, there are multiple ways, but we have an opportunity to either, okay, are we gonna use this moment to go head to head and butt heads against each other? Right. Or are we gonna use this moment to unite and go around Deion, because it's not about college. Wherever Deion goes, people are gonna go.
Yeah, because Deion ultimately is a winner at the end of the day.
Right.
He has a track record, so I can say that now it would be a fact. Deion's a winner. I do think it's interesting though, right? In our last conversation we had, I talked about the Trojan horse strategy. I do think Deion's doing that, clearly by him giving up half his salary to Jackson State, meaning like, I'm gonna come over here and make some money, but I'm also gonna dish it back.
Yeah.
I think that kind of proves my point too of the last conversation, that Deion is probably doing it the way that if I did decide to go and say, yo, I'm gonna go and get this white partnership, is probably doing it the way that I would.
Right.
Just to make my blackness feel secure that, yo, I'm not gonna forget the people at the crib.
And I think that's important. That reminds me, and I think we've talked about it a couple times. One of the first black millionaires, Mary Ellen Pleasant. She was a lighter woman, and she pretended to be a white woman to get into these rooms, to get the money. But then she would go back and give that information, that money to her community. I think that's what we need to, like, what are the fruits of your labor? Where are you putting your resources? Because Deion is, even when Charleston White talk about, oh, he's not doing anything for the black community and da-da-da-da-da. And again, Charleston White just being a character to bring in views, but he is impacting us. He is impacting the community. But these people online, I challenge to ask you, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to add value?
So just to kind of, get right to the point, do you think Deion's a sellout?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't be a sellout. First of all, to give resources to our community, I can't call you a sellout because I can name a plethora of businesses that cater to the black community but don't give $1 to the black community, but still the black community supports. When we talk about majority of hair stores and chicken wing spots and all this, those spots aren't owned by black people, but still we show up and support them, and they don't give a darn about what's happening in the black community. But then you have a Deion Sanders, and of course that's a little different than business, but Deion Sanders here on a big platform the way he is, he's still mentioning, and when they're having these conversations about Deion and his kids, they have to bring up Jackson State. They have to talk about HBCUs. They have to, even if it's from a critical standpoint of, oh, where you left Jackson State quickly, you still have to say these names in these big rooms on these big platforms. So absolutely not. Anybody that thinks he's a sellout, I would ask you how. Please show me the facts of how he's a sellout. And then I would ask you, what are you doing? Have you watched the Jackson State game? Have you contributed anything monetarily? Let's put your money where your mouth is. Let's not just talk with the mouth. Yeah. Where's your money going? And then also, too, we show up to these corporations and jobs that we have that aren't owned by us. By the grace of God, I get to come to a black-owned company, which I love what we do here. I love the stories that we tell. I love how, but we've seen the type of criticism we get as a black-owned company, too, and the lack of support that we don't get from our own community. So I challenge us to, I think this whole Deion thing is exposing our mentality as a community. And I'm just hoping that as it exposes, we're able to correct the things that we need to correct. Because we should be behind Deion. We should not be against him. You don't have to agree with everything. Okay, I would have chosen a different path, which most of y'all probably wouldn't. I would have chosen different, but I'm going to still support you, my brother. Because I love what you're doing for us. I love on these stages you have not changed nor switched up on us. And you're putting your money where your mouth is. If that's a sellout, then I don't know.
I wonder, and this is for the audience, who did it right? Who's someone that came in and did it right? Because I think that's where we have a lot of opinions flying around, because I don't think our folks have truly identified what is the right path in America. How do we continue scaling America? Because like Symphony's saying, when you're a black-owned business, you have certain ceilings that you hit.
Yeah.
That you're gonna have to have those conversations of, do I bring in a partner? Do I pull in this person here? Do I get more resources? Because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So do we die black? Is that the way? Is that the path? Is that the path to go where it's like, you know what? At least I went out in my blackness, because we see a lot of those black-owned businesses. I'm gonna keep it at 1,000. When we go to the West End or the hood, those black-owned businesses kind of will only hit a certain threshold.
Right, because most black-owned businesses are sole proprietors, so they have they're everything. They don't employ. They don't have the opportunities to employ. And I get it. We have challenges that block us from getting these opportunities.
So do we stay? I'm just saying, do we stay at that level? Is that the path?
Personally, for me, no. If you can I don't think you have to take away your ownership, go into partnerships with other establishments that may not be black, and say oh, I'm going to give you 51% of my company. I don't think you have to do that. There's so many opportunities to get the funding, though. Because even when we talk about funding in general, most of that is not coming from another black-owned establishment. We don't have a lot of black-owned banks. that, give that type of funding. There are Black-owned banks, but how many of us bank at a Black-owned
what
bank?
I've kind of was able to process? I think we have to be a lot better when it comes to partnerships.
Yeah.
Like strategic partnerships. And strategic partnerships don't mean it's necessarily spending any money.
Correct.
It's pretty much us unifying to create a bigger, valuable asset so that we can sell it together. And I think the issue is oftentimes we don't see each other as strategic partners. We see each other as competitors after the same market share.
Yeah.
But in reality, if we maybe changed our viewpoint a little bit and said, you know what, I'm gonna link up with Symphony, because guess what? That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Symphony does one thing for our show that I can't necessarily do, and we partner together and we bring you guys this product.
Yeah.
And then we go and try to make what we can with the product. And then eventually we will add more people to it, more value, and then we sell it together. Versus if I did this by myself, it would not have been the same. It probably wouldn't have lasted as long. I would have burnt out. So you need to think about partnerships, and I think I'm getting in that space to understand that more and more, that it's about partnerships, bringing in people. What do you do? Come on in. What do you do? Come on in. Now let's get this big pie together.
And that brings, to will this back to Deion Sanders, what's Bishop over the HBCU?
Man, I've been checking my Kevin Cosby tracker.
But imagine if
he has not. He's
a president over an HBCU, right?
Correct.
Imagine if instead of him using this opportunity to talk trash about Deion,
right?
Imagine if he was like, I'm gonna show up to the games. Deion, I'm gonna show up. And then the same way we're seeing Offset and all these and these. HBCU president at Colorado, then it's like, okay, how can we use what you're doing, Deion, to help our HBCU?
I think, though, this is the thing about winners. And I even saw that 60 Minutes interview that Deion does.
Yeah.
He said he strikes something he triggers something with people. Winners do that.
Yeah.
Winners create either you're another winner and you recognize that I'm winning, or you're a loser. And it's going to remind you that you're a loser when you're in the presence of me.
Yeah.
And I think Deion strikes that type of conversation. People that are winners are going to want to see him do his thing. Winners like seeing other winners. But people that ultimately are struggling or are losing are probably going to feel some type of way about him. Not calling Kevin Cosby a loser, just insinuating that.
I'm waiting to see what he says, because like you said, he's been radio silent since all that junk smack.
Yeah, I mean, because I think if he was, it felt like frustration.
Yeah. Like
built up frustration that I understand.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
HBCUs don't get the funding that they.
And he's like, you had, because the reality is, you project a little bit, like maybe he was like, if I was Deion, if I could be like Deion, this is what I would do. But I can't be like Deion. Yeah. Because there's only one Deion.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit of what comes with the frustration of damn, I wish I had what he had.
Yeah.
Because I would do this with it.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, hopefully we can get Kevin Cosby on the show, but I think that he ultimately has been trying to walk a certain path, and becomes a challenge. Yeah. And someone like Deion smiling, he did what you probably wanted to do in fewer years.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. No, I feel
and that sums up probably maybe his energy.
No, yeah, and I do hope, if Kevin, you do see this, I hope to have you on the show, because I would also love to have a conversation with you just to see where it goes. Also, Deion, man, congratulations to those guys. I did watch the game. I had to catch the ending of it because my mom got married.
Oh, congratulations to Mom.
Thank you. Yeah, she got married this past weekend, so I was at the wedding, but after the wedding, I caught some of the game, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal to watch, even when Colorado State started playing dirty. And I know they had played dirty early on too, but Colorado didn't, in Deion's Colorado, right? Yeah. They didn't change up. They still played the game. They still executed and did not give up. So I appreciated being able to see that, and just the love between a black head coach and his black quarterback, that is his son, be able to come together was beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. I love the representation. We talk about, black fathers not getting the recognition that they deserve. This man is showing. And then the crazy thing is, and I know I said I was going to go, but crazy thing is, you have his son that's a quarterback. You have another son that plays, but then his other son is actually recording all of this. So when we talk about content and longevity and being able to, what's the play with Kanye West and the gentleman that recorded Kanye West's for his
Snooty.
Snooty or, those guys, they recorded Kanye West throughout his career.
Correct.
And then when things popped off, they were able to get that.
Out.
Same thing. He's setting his family up for success. And I love that. We talk about, again, we don't talk enough about Black fathers.
Yeah.
Take away the football, take away that. Deion, what you're doing as a father, as a Black father in America, when America has said time and time again that black fathers aren't in the house, Black fathers aren't present, Black fathers aren't this and aren't that. You can tell that Deion has inspired his kids and really instilled in them confidence that no matter where you go, no matter what people say, you know who you are. And that, I can't take that away.
I think it's definitely priceless, when it comes to what he represents, which is why I'm choosing to spotlight more so that conversation about him.
Yeah.
I know I feel some type of way that he didn't stay at Jackson State. At the same time, like I said earlier, that decision already has been made. If we continue to stay in that, we won't kind of move forward. We'll just be there, festering in that energy.
Yeah.
So now choosing to go forward, it's like, okay, where is Deion? Deion is a Black father, like you just mentioned, over a coaching program that is getting national recognition. He's also being able to showcase what the Black male image represents, that it doesn't have to feed into a stereotype. He even talked about, he corrected one person, or he just said in his interview, he says, "I'm a father, I'm not a baby daddy."
Correct.
And so Deion's aware about his image and what it also gives off and how it can affect people. And I think that's what I'm choosing to now focus on, is about Deion's image and how he's impacting the Black male image. I still think we need our soldiers in the field, whether that's me in the conversation or not. At the end of the day, I still think you need people that are doing the work that Kevin Cosby is doing, who aren't being seen, who aren't necessarily within the pizzazz and living up. You still need your soldiers to fight.
Absolutely.
So Mr. Cosby, Kevin Cosby, do not give up on your fight. To Deion, do not give up on your fight. And our motto here at the company is to keep going. And the people that's watching this, keep going. Regardless of what's going on in your life, use this Deion story as an example of how you can get past certain hurdles, different opposition. Use our example of what we've been able to counter for those that have been watching us for so many years. You've been able to see us grow time and time again. So again, the message is to keep going, to everybody.
I absolutely love that. Again, thank you so much for joining me. They play Oregon this weekend, so I'm sure we'll see how social media and all these critics react to that. Hopefully we'll talk about it on the show. Before I let you go, John, is there anything that you'd like to mention? I know tonight, right? Tonight we have an open mic.
By the time you guys see this, it might be happening. Depends on when this comes out. But yes, tonight in Atlanta, we're kicking off our open mic at the Comedy Hype Studios. I'm gonna shout out the address. Don't get funny, don't get weird if y'all pull up. 235 Walker Street. Come join us. Again, this is our home. This is where we enjoy ourselves. This is where we get to let our hair down. And we're gonna be rocking out with T. Sanders every Monday night in Atlanta at our open mic. Also sponsored by Malawi, Ha Hemp, which is with our partners at Malawi. So just looking forward to that. And keep watching us. Watching us.
And people will actually be able to try the Ha Hemp tea, but
yes.
if you're watching online, they can actually purchase it as well.
If you want to give it a shot as well in terms of the experience, you can go to hahemptea.com. You can order you some tea there. I just saw an order come through recently. That was exciting. So these are ways that you can support us. Again, I told you our mission here. Our mission is to be able to keep it in-house, but I want to elevate. I don't want to be broken woke.
Yeah. You've said that on the show before.
I don't want to be broken woke, but I want to elevate. So I want to see this Black business is my goal, that we can be able to do multi-million-dollar deals and still keep it in-house. That's what I'm after. And this is one way of being able to show that support by buying our merchandise, by buying our products, by coming to our shows, by watching our programs, by sharing it. At the end of the day, don't give it to us for free though. Make us work for it. But if we doing our thing, show us that we doing our thing. Don't hold back that love, because sometimes people can be like, No, if we doing our thing, press that like button.
Yeah.
Press that
subscribe.
Press that checkout button.
I love it.
Real talk.
Yeah.
If we doing our thing, press the subscribe button. Press the share button. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
keep giving us a chance to come back here every day to show you that, hey, we're going to work for it, and we're going to show you the example and hopefully inspire you at the same time. So again, keep going, and thank y'all. I will try not to be back here because I need to send off emails. I got calls I got to make. I still am running a company, but I just, I think it's good to be a part of these conversations. So
absolutely,
I appreciate you guys.
No, and I always appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, but stopping by and being able to chime in, I'm very appreciative of.
For sure.
Thank you again for joining me. But you'd heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts about Deion Sanders doubling down on why he left Jackson State? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.